Boy Scouts of America, BSA, was founded in 1910, marking the beginning of a movement that would shape the lives of millions of American boys throughout the 20th century. Inspired by the British Scouting movement, the BSA quickly took root in American soil, adapting to the unique cultural landscape of the United States. In its early years, the BSA focused on outdoor skills, patriotism, and character development. The organization's emphasis on being physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight resonated with many Americans who saw scouting as a way to instill traditional values in young men. World War I saw the Boy Scouts playing an active role on the home front. Scouts participated in war bond drives, collected scrap metal, and assisted with various community services. This period helped cement the organization's image as a patriotic and civic-minded institution. The 1920s brought rapid growth to the BSA. The introduction of Cub Scouting for younger boys in 1930 expanded the organization's reach. During this decade, iconic scouting traditions like the Eagle Scout Award and the Order of the Arrow were established. The Great Depression of the 1930s posed challenges for the BSA, but also highlighted its resilience. Many troops engaged in community service projects, helping those in need. The organization's emphasis on self-reliance and outdoor skills proved particularly relevant during these difficult times. World War II once again saw Boy Scouts actively supporting the war effort. Scouts collected scrap materials, participated in civil defense drills, and even served as messengers. The war years reinforced the BSA's connection to national service and patriotism. The post-war boom of the 1950s led to a golden age for the Boy Scouts. Membership soared as baby boomers came of age. The organization's traditional values aligned well with the conservatism of the era, and scouting became an integral part of the idealized American childhood. The introduction of the Exploring program in 1949, aimed at older youth, expanded the BSA's reach into career education and advanced outdoor adventures. This program would evolve significantly over the following decades. The 1960s brought new challenges as the BSA faced the cultural upheavals of the era. The organization's traditional values sometimes clashed with the emerging counterculture and civil rights movements. However, the BSA also adapted, introducing new merit badges related to space exploration and technology. Environmental awareness became a more significant focus for the BSA in the late 1960s and 1970s. Conservation projects and ecological education were integrated into scouting programs, reflecting growing national concern about environmental issues. The BSA celebrated its 50th anniversary in 1960 with a national jamboree that showcased the organization's strength and popularity. These large gatherings became important events for showcasing scouting skills and fostering a sense of national unity among troops. In the 1970s, the BSA continued to evolve its programs to remain relevant to American youth. New merit badges were introduced to reflect changing interests and technologies, while still maintaining core outdoor and citizenship focuses. The role of adult leaders in scouting became more professionalized throughout the 20th century. Training programs for scoutmasters and other volunteers became more comprehensive, reflecting a growing emphasis on youth protection and program quality. The BSA's relationship with Native American culture underwent significant changes during the 20th century. While early practices often involved problematic appropriation, later decades saw efforts to develop more respectful and educational approaches to incorporating Native American themes. The 1980s saw the BSA grappling with issues of modernization. The organization worked to balance its traditional outdoor focus with the growing influence of technology and changing youth interests. Throughout the 20th century, the BSA maintained strong ties to religious institutions. Many troops were sponsored by churches, and the organization upheld a belief in God as a core principle. This religious aspect became increasingly controversial in the latter part of the century. The BSA's international connections grew throughout the 20th century. American Scouts participated in world jamborees, fostering a sense of global citizenship. The organization also supported the development of scouting movements in other countries. Urban scouting programs became increasingly important in the latter half of the 20th century. The BSA adapted its traditionally outdoor-focused programs to serve youth in America's growing cities. The BSA's approach to inclusivity evolved over the century. While initially exclusive to boys and often segregated, the organization gradually became more inclusive, though significant controversies remained, particularly regarding sexual orientation. The introduction of computers and digital technology in the late 20th century presented both challenges and opportunities for the BSA. New merit badges and programs were developed to incorporate these technologies while maintaining core scouting values. Throughout the century, summer camps remained a cornerstone of the scouting experience. These camps evolved from basic wilderness experiences to comprehensive programs offering a wide range of activities and learning opportunities. The BSA's uniform, an iconic symbol of the organization, underwent several changes throughout the 20th century, reflecting both practical considerations and changing fashions. Funding for scouting activities evolved over the decades. While early troops often relied on local support, the latter part of the century saw more sophisticated fundraising methods, including the famous popcorn sales. The role of scouting in schools changed over time. While many troops were initially closely tied to educational institutions, there was a gradual shift towards more community-based organizations. The concept of service took on increasing importance in BSA programs as the century progressed. Community service projects became integral to the scouting experience, particularly for those pursuing higher ranks. The BSA's governance structure evolved to manage an increasingly complex national organization. Balancing local troop autonomy with national standards remained an ongoing challenge. Competitive events between troops became more structured and widespread during the latter half of the century. These competitions helped motivate scouts and showcase skills on regional and national levels. The BSA's public image underwent significant changes throughout the 20th century. While generally positive, the organization faced increasing scrutiny and criticism in later decades. The organization's relationship with the U.S. government remained strong throughout much of the century, with presidents often serving as honorary leaders and scouting receiving various forms of federal support. The Exploring program, aimed at older youth, underwent significant changes in the latter part of the century, expanding its focus to include career exploration and coeducational opportunities. Youth protection became an increasingly important focus for the BSA, especially in the later decades of the century. Policies and training programs were developed to ensure the safety of scouts. The concept of high-adventure bases gained prominence in the latter half of the century. Places like Philmont Scout Ranch offered opportunities for more challenging outdoor experiences. The BSA's membership policies, particularly regarding sexual orientation, became a major point of controversy in the late 20th century, leading to legal challenges and public debates. The organization's role in disaster preparedness and response evolved throughout the century. Scouts often played important roles in their communities during natural disasters and other emergencies. The relationship between scouting and the field of youth development became more formalized in the latter part of the century, with the BSA incorporating professional research into its program design. Conservation practices within the BSA evolved from a focus on resource management to a more comprehensive understanding of environmental stewardship. The BSA's international service projects expanded significantly in the latter half of the century, with more troops engaging in overseas activities and cultural exchanges. The role of parents in scouting changed over time, with increased parental involvement becoming more common, especially in the latter decades of the century. The BSA's approach to leadership development evolved throughout the century, with increasing emphasis on preparing youth for leadership roles in their communities and future careers. As the century progressed, the BSA faced the ongoing challenge of balancing tradition with modernization, striving to maintain relevance while upholding core values. The 20th century was a transformative period for the Boy Scouts of America. From its founding in 1910 to the dawn of the new millennium, the organization played a significant role in shaping the lives of millions of American youth. Throughout the decades, the BSA adapted to major historical events, societal changes, and technological advancements while striving to maintain its core values of character development, citizenship training, and personal fitness. The organization's journey reflected many of the changes and challenges faced by American society as a whole, from world wars and economic depressions to civil rights movements and cultural revolutions. As we look back on the Boy Scouts of America in the 20th century, we see an organization that was both a steadfast tradition and a constantly evolving institution. While maintaining many of its foundational principles, the BSA demonstrated a capacity for change, adapting its programs and policies to remain relevant to each new generation of American youth. The legacy of 20th century scouting in America is complex, marked by significant achievements in youth development and community service, as well as controversies and challenges that would shape its path into the 21st century. The story of the Boy Scouts in the 20th century remains an important chapter in the broader narrative of American social and cultural history.